Thank you, Allison. Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to be discussing two trials, the results of two trials in the evaluation of an open formula reference diet for California Yellowtail broodstock. For those that don't know, California Yellowtail is a Seriola. It's seasonally abundant in Southern California. It's an important species worldwide, being cultured worldwide for its high market value. And 2019, in the same session, was identified as one of, I think, 11 species that is ready for commercial production in the United States. We've been working with the species for over 20 years, and we've mainly been focused on larval rearing, larval nutrition, juvenile grow out, juvenile nutrition, but over recent years we're more focused on broodstock and doing everything from spawning dynamics to egg quality prediction and broodstock nutrition. And the four publications that we've put out recently all have some sort of commercial diet associated with them, which means that you don't necessarily know what the ingredients are, and it's hard to adjust. And so that is why we're looking more towards an open formula diet, so we can actually look at the needs of the species. And so that's our objective, to determine if an open formula diet can perform similarly to what our standard procedure is of feeding sardines and squid, and also compared to a commercially available diet. We used F2 broodstock that were stocked into four 10 cubic meter tanks. Two males and two females. These fish were put into these tanks in 2023. We used the same fish across both studies. They weren't moved at all, so just keep that in mind as I go through this. And they range in size over the course of the two seasons from 11 to 15 kilos. Here's a show example of one of the tanks. It's under ambient temperature and ambient light. They spawn from about March through October, depending on the water temperature. There's an egg trap on the sump for all the tanks, 500 micron screen, so we can collect both the floating and the sinking portion of the spawn event, so we can calculate viability. For our spawn metrics, pretty similar to what others are doing. We look at egg production, looking at egg viability, egg measurements, hatch rates, larval length at hatch, survival first feeding, and then we've analyzed all the spawn events and the diets associated with each trial. For the diet treatments, for the first trial, we looked at our open formula diet. Ziegler helped us produce the diet. It's 50% protein, 18% lipid, compared to our fresh fish product, which is our typical sardines and squid supplemented with our vitamin premix. In trial 2, we compared the same open formula diet to Europa, which is commercially available through spreading. It has been used on other Seriola, so that was a good candidate for us to compare. It also had the same protein lipid composition. For each trial, we fed 1 to 2% body weight per day, 3 days a week, and based on a dry weight basis. And we did do diet switches every 6 weeks to increase our replication, since we only had 4 tanks. We used a temporal replication, and as kind of a visual, for trial 1, we started for the first 6 weeks, fed our pellet feed, open formula diet, switched after 6 weeks to sardines and squid, so forth, and that was for 2 tanks. The other 2 tanks, we just switched the order, and the same for trial 2. And for each of these transitions, which is something that I didn't really expect, they switched onto the feed right away. There wasn't any time there wasn't a time where they weren't accepting the diet. And as I've been mentioning, this is open formula, so we know the ingredients going into the diet. This was help from Dr. Alan Davis and Dr. Gibson Gaylord to help us formulate this. And the benefit here is that you can standardize trials year to year within research institutes or between institutes to be able to compare results similarly. You can also, over the years, if you can change these ingredients, you can pick up differences in egg quality or egg production or whatever you're looking for. So that's the power of using an open formula diet. And your commercial products, all you're reading is the tag, and those can change year to year, which can be problematic when you're doing long-term research, especially with broodstock. And so for the results, the bottom part got taken out, but I'm going to go through, give the diet analysis, egg quality, and egg analysis. For the diet analysis, I put in what we wanted the formula conceivably to be when you actually analyze the diet for approximate amino acid and fatty acid analysis. For trial 1, we didn't quite hit the marks for what we wanted the formulation to be, but there were differences between the open formula and the fresh fish diet. And those are marked in yellow for open formula and orange for the fresh fish diet. And the open formula was higher in taurine, methionine, oleic acid, linoleic acid, and in the fresh fish, stereodonic, EPA, DHA. And even though there were differences in the diet, and this is what we were aiming for, there weren't any differences in egg production or egg quality. And I will say this is really poor performance for the species. We don't normally, we see higher egg production, much better viability, hatch rate, and survival first feeding. I believe that there are a couple reasons for this. One, this is the first time we used F2 broodstock. That could be a factor, or at least looked at egg quality. They've spawned for us before. We haven't really looked at egg quality and how that performance is. I think the other one is that we're using pretty big fish in these 12-foot tanks. I think that took them a while to get used to that environment, and as you'll see, I think that had a little bit to do. But in terms of the diet performance, there wasn't any differences, which is what we're going for this open formula diet. We're not trying to outperform anything. We're trying to make sure that it can be used in subsequent research down the road. For the egg analysis, it's similar as what you'd expect. What you're seeing in the diet is being translated into the eggs in terms of significant differences. So similar oleic acid, linoleic acid from the diet was higher in the open formula, and stereodonic and DHA for the fresh fish diet. So one last thing. They're friends from far Atlantic. We've been able to do this fatty acid to egg ratio. And this is, sorry, that line should be at the 1. But if you're the essential fatty acids in your egg divided by the essential fatty acids in your diet, if they're less than 1, they are sufficient within the diet. If they're above 1, they are deficient. And I chose the 5 essential fatty acids at the bottom because these are historically what we've shown to improve egg quality, impact egg quality in a positive or negative way. And so for both diets, they were deficient in arachidonic acid, EPA, and DHA. So since the open formula diet performs similarly to the fresh fish, we wanted to try it against a commercial control or a commercially available product, and this was Europa. And as if you remember from trial 1, the formulation here on the left was similar now to what we were able to get. So this is what we would expect moving forward in any of the trials, making the diet. This is the analysis that you would hope to get. And again, the diets were significantly different in certain parameters. Yellow for open formula, green for the Europa, and the main ones from the amino acid side are taurine and methionine, significantly different in the open formula reference diet, and for fatty acids, linoleic and stereodonic acid in the open formula, and oleic and EPA for the Europa. And again, since even though the diets were different, there was no difference in egg quality. We had, again, the same fish in the same tanks from year to year, so there was no difference in moving fish around. But we did get better egg production, more total eggs. Viability was better, hatch rate, survival first feeding was better, and again, I think that had to do more with the broodstock, less to do with the diets themselves. And I will still say that this is below what we normally see in our standard breeding tanks. We're usually getting viability over the course of a year between 65 and 70%. Same with hatch rate and survival first feeding. Looking at the egg analysis, the two amino acids that were significantly different were taurine and methionine, but the rest were similar. And so that was also good to see. And then looking at the fatty acid to egg ratio, that down there is linoleic acid, ARA, and DHA. So there were similar ones that were different, that were deficient between year 1 and 2 with the open formula diet. But again, we're missing something nutritionally for these fish. So overall, the open formula reference diet is a good, is a good research tool for Seriola, Seriola dorsalis, because we've shown that there's no difference in egg quality or egg production when comparing them to commercial diet or fresh fish. We have shown also that there is a refinement needed for the formulation to meet these nutritional needs, and that's where the future work is going to come in, to be able to take the same formulation and compare it to within similar fish or whatever populations that we want to try, and be able to track that egg quality, altering different ingredients. And I think that is where the real power starts coming in. And so I'd like to acknowledge our funding source, Sea Grant, Chevron, SeaWorld San Diego. I'd like to thank Dr. Alan Davis and Dr. Gibson Gaylord for helping to formulate and work up some of this information. Dr. Scott Snyder and Ziegler for helping us produce the diet, and Dr. Lee Fuman with some of the statistical help. So at this point, I'll take any questions. Yeah, George. Yeah, I mean, so this was what was available to us, and this is part of the problem for a lot of the work that we do. What's available in the U.S. isn't necessarily available to anyone else. We don't get a lot of the stuff that's available in Europe and Asia and Australia. So I wanted to use Vitalis, but it wasn't available, and we didn't on the timeline we had. So then Spreading shifted us to Europa because it had been used with other Seriola. So that's what we went with. But I think in the future, yeah, I would use something that would be more tailored to broodstock. Something like Vitalis. Great.
What's known in the literature about just the absorption, and how soon after you start feeding these diets is it really impactful for the fish? Is it a matter of hours, days, or weeks? I mean, doing these types of studies.
Well, actually, Allison, that was part of her research or her master's thesis, but she found that it takes between 10 and 19 days for them to incorporate the nutrients of the diet into the eggs, and so for fatty acids.
Overall, and like for EPA, DHA area, all different, and how many days it takes to incorporate. That was my next question. Like, are you planning to see like the shifts, the diet shifts in these kind of?
Yes, and so there's still, we got all this information in January, and I'm still working through a lot of it. So yeah, that's part of understanding those temporal shifts, and the replication, the temporal replication allows us also to mask that seasonal variability that we do see in our spawn events, and it's pretty routine where you'll see good spawn events at the start of the year and poor spawn events at the end of the year. So that temporal replication should mask all of that to be able to get you get the information that you're looking for.
Did you do amino acids for all the spawns?
Yes.
You can do the temporal shift with the amino acids.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Please join me to provide my hand.
Thank you.